When a medical need arises, hundreds of thousands of Christians across the nation care for one another by sharing financially for those medical needs. Samaritan members pray and reflect God's love and care by providing for one another. While times continue to change, God's love doesn't. He cares for us as we are called to care for one another.
Keep your rifle by your side.
I had my intro.
Oh, you had an intro? I had an intro too.
Do it. It doesn't mean anything anymore. It took the wind out of my sail. Welcome to Cross Politic. Thank you for joining us on the Sunday special. Pastor Toby Chuck Knox, I'm the Waterboy. And of course, we got Indy Wilson back in the studio because it's his fault that all this is going on.
We blame him.
It's all me. We also have a great interview coming up with John Zmirak.
He's on fire.
He was on fire.
I mean, like, literally kind of on fire.
House, behind him was on fire, and had a good interview with him, so make sure you guys stick around for that. Man, President Biden?
You trying to get comfortable saying that?
You just said that.
Well, it seems like everybody up until this point, Saturday, they started announcing it. We have all the, well, they're declaring that it's President Biden.
Joe Biden is the projected winner of the 2020 presidential election, saith Twitter.
Well,
Saint Twitter.
So did Fox.
Yeah.
Hey,
Fox has said it
I
too.
think you could say Twitter is being more reasonable there than Fox. I mean, Fox is saying the 46th president of the United States.
Oh, they're not even saying projected winner.
No. Fox, CNN, the media outlets aren't. They're just declaring him it is so. They're not saying we project him to win.
Oh.
They're saying it's done.
They're the high priests.
Yeah, it's done. And so Twitter saying projected is actually quite reasonable.
More conservative of them.
I mean, that's true. That is, in fact, a true statement.
Why is Fox now turning against Trump?
Oh, man.
The debate?
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I mean, I guarantee you I think there's two things that happened. One is I think there was a committee meeting where somebody...
Committees always are successful.
Yeah, I think there's a committee. And my rule,
or a group text.
Whatever we call it, it's my rule.
Okay.
In any meeting that lasts more than 20 minutes, somebody will propose something that will ruin everything.
So meetings should only be 18 minutes.
Yeah, 19 minutes
And
tops.
to be clear, you mean even Christian meetings.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't matter. If you're a school board,
Presbyteries.
if you're a school board, if you're a presbytery, it doesn't matter. If there's a group of people having a meeting within 20 minutes, as soon as you hit that marker, somebody proposes something
that will ruin everything.
If adopted, would ruin everything.
Right.
And I think
there's rule for us now.
I think there was a committee
timer
meeting
for 19 minutes.
18 minutes. We need 2 minute out.
It actually is no joke. If you think like we got to do business, we're going to get in, get out. Like you don't have time to rethink everything.
Right.
But I think there was a committee meeting where somebody said, "Hey, MSNBC and CNN have completely veered into crazy town. They're full left. This is the moment for Fox News to become the mainstream media. We can take the center.
Yeah.
If we move to the center, we can become just news. We're not Fox News. We're just the news because MSNBC and CNN are so lefty.
Right.
And I think that was the move. It's like this election, let's become the dominant mainstream thing, which means we got to hire up Hillary's people on the decision desk. We got to do everything we do. We can't be rah-rah.
So they called Arizona way early.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're right.
Yeah. As a side note, let me just say, to that point, this whole thing's wildly interesting. If I'm just a neutral observer, if I'm just like an alien anthropologist looking at how all this played out.
And you kind of are.
I am a bit of an alien. I am
to be quite honest.
I'm not a registered Republican. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a rah-rah anything. But
except for Jesus.
Except for Jesus, yeah. Except for Christianity. If you look at this, you look at the situation where it starts to drop, and you think, okay, so why is it important to not call Alaska?
I know.
For real.
We've been
I brought this up on Thursday.
Alaska. Why is it important not to call Georgia and Pennsylvania when he was ahead by 600,000 votes?
Yep.
Why was it important not to call North Carolina or Georgia still?
Yep.
When they're saying, no, we can't call that because something wildly improbable might still happen.
Yeah.
Something wild. Hold off. Something wildly
Wait for the
improbable.
miracle.
Something wildly improbable might still happen. I'm like, okay, fine.
Right.
But apply that to everything. And you go to Arizona and they something just likely might still happen, and they called it. But if you had, this is all about catechism. So if you had called the states the same way, it would have been Trump 268, Biden 264.
Right.
And they needed to let America sit and marinate in the fact that Biden is winning. Biden's ahead. Why was it so important to keep Trump at 214?
Right.
Like, Biden's winning. Like, get used to the idea that Biden's winning. If it was 268 to 264,
sleep on that for a few nights.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, this is straight out of Venezuela. Anywhere else where it's like, hey guys, things are crazy. Go to bed. We'll tell you what happened in the morning. It's like, that's it. Just go to sleep. So I told some of my guys, some of my employees, that was like, they'll announce Saturday morning or Sunday morning. They'll pick the quietest, deadest time when everybody's sleeping off hangovers from a depressing week to announce it. And then they're going to try to make it so with sheer willpower. This is it. It cannot be questioned. Trump
or doped up on porn.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what happened. Pornhub came out and their numbers went up like 14% after the first night of the election. So they wake up the next morning, you're doped up on porn, whatever.
You're done. So the whole, like, we gotta get through. So you look at this, you're like, why aren't they calling states? Because they said, well, we have to bear in mind that something crazy might happen. Georgia might go blue. Something crazy might happen. Arizona might go blue for the first time in, forever. Alaska might go blue. Oh, really? When has that ever happened? Trump is up by,
100,000 votes or something in Alaska, which is pretty significant.
Yeah, no, he was up by 30 points.
Yeah.
Up by 30 points with more than half the vote counted.
Right.
Like, no, we can't do that because we can't even. Right. We can't show America a close game.
We might need those 3 electoral votes in Alaska.
Yeah, we might need those, exactly. So we got to hold those off. So I think you look at this and you're like, okay, we got to marinate America in the fact that Biden's winning. We can't have actually Trump even or ahead, and then like make it look like something toggled.
So are you saying that there was election fraud?
I think that, let me put it this way. In the history of the world, whenever people are fighting for power, it has never once been clean.
Yeah.
Not once. Not in any country, not in any time, not in any presidential election has it been clean. Ever.
Right.
Ever. Because we're talking about fighting for the most powerful position on the planet.
In the world.
You go to Rome. You go to the British Empire. Right. You go to Henry VIII. You go to
it's never sanitized.
It's never. The back rooms are always people getting disemboweled. Things are in the history books when people are fighting over power, especially when people are fighting over power and they feel righteous. I guarantee you there was voter fraud on Trump's side. I guarantee you there's people who felt 100% righteous because of abortion, everything else.
I'm saving our
country. I'm saving the country. So nobody, but conservatives tend to idolize the rules. And so they cheat less, and it's not necessarily a virtue. They just do.
Yeah.
So in this
Pharisees.
In this situation, just for some perspective, the last time we had an incumbent president, he got the most popular president in the history of presidents. He got 10 million fewer votes than Biden just got.
Right.
You're talking about Obama.
Obama.
Yep.
Yeah,
Obama
he's about
2012.
62, 63 million.
65. He hit 65. When all the dust settled, he was
65,
at 65. Biden will be at
80.
75 and up.
Once it all settles.
Once everything settles. We're talking about somebody who just clocked 10 million more as a dude that no one likes.
Yeah.
A dude that nobody likes just came in and rang the bell.
Yeah.
And everybody's talking about how Biden beat Obama's popular vote record from 2008, which was 69 million. So did Trump.
Right.
Trump beat that record.
Yeah.
And like, well, population's gone up. We've been naturalizing around 750,000 citizens every year since 2008. Oh, it's like, okay. So how many is that? 12 million since then?
Right.
Okay. This is nuts. So when you look at this, I wouldn't even have to see any of it to think that this was a dirty election. I think every election is a dirty election. I think there has never been a clean election in the history of America or anywhere.
Yeah. So how do we process things like this?
If all this wasn't enough, in Antrim County, ballots were counted for Democrats that were meant for Republicans, causing a 6,000 vote swing against our candidates. The county clerk came forward and said tabulating software glitched and caused a miscalculation of the votes. Since then, we have now discovered that 47 counties use this same software in the same capacity. Antrim County had to hand count all of the ballots, and these counties that use this software need to closely examine their results for similar discrepancies. The people of Michigan deserve a transparent and open process.
6,000 votes by this one computer they found that flipped. And then
they were given to Biden instead of Trump.
Given Biden. They were for Trump and went to Biden.
I mean, I found a semi full of Trump votes, and I sent them to Michigan, and they accepted all of them.
And I guess the name of the software is called Dominion. It was used in around 30 states.
Dominion.
And they're actually They're run by a Democrat, too. That company's run by Democrats.
Supposedly, Nevada, Arizona, Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, every single swing state was using this particular software and machine. So, I mean, if you just add up, I mean, if you flatten it out, which is probably not the wisest thing to do for those 47 counties.
6,000 times 47.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a smart thing to do. It's not fair, and it could be more or less dependent, but you're around 282,000 votes.
Do we know anything about the nature of the glitch? I mean, how does 6,000 votes just get flipped like that? I mean,
we don't know anything about the nature of the glitch. That's what we need to go to court to find out.
Because that would tell us a little bit about what the likelihood of it happening in other counties or even other states.
So, I mean, if you jump in on that, you look at this, I got to say two things. One, losing is Trump's fault. Everybody knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Trump knew this was going to happen.
He's been saying this for months.
He's been saying it. Right. Then what was he hoping? Was he hoping that he could just fight after the fact? I mean, that's what he said. Like, we'll go in the courts. The problem is the biggest loser here, besides the American people, the biggest loser here is a future president, Joe Biden. Joe Biden will not have the ability to govern. Joe Biden, if he actually thinks he's sitting on a 5 million vote lead, should be the one saying, let's get cameras in everywhere. I want every hillbilly and redneck. I want every Walmart voter to see I won.
Yeah. It's clean.
Like, suck it. It's like that's like he wants that, but he needs that in order. Right? He just said, I'm going to be president for all Americans, whatever. But he also said, I've got a mandate on climate change and everything else, which 70 plus million people are furious about.
Yeah. Right.
So the biggest loser in an election like this, if he hangs on to it, is Joe Biden.
That's what I was saying earlier when we were sitting here talking. I was like, you know what? I would think that Democrats, if they want to convince people that they are really honest in this and they want it fair out, would say, hey, listen, we'll go get our lawyers.
We'll recount them all.
We'll get our lawyers. We'll come with you guys, and we'll make them show us their handiwork, and we'll agree. And if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Imagine in the Super Bowl, if suddenly the NFL said, "Hey, so we've decided not to allow you all to see this replay.
Right.
We're going to decide in the booth, and we are not going to allow the network to replay this. Right. We'll just let you know."
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, especially if the Vegas Raiders are involved, everybody's going to be like, come on, you got to show it to us. You got to let us see, like, and that's where we are. Like, the team that actually won, if Biden had the better ground game, if Biden somehow, by being in his basement, successfully got 75 million people to vote. Exactly. Congratulations, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So
best
let's
campaign
let's see the numbers. Let's see them.
Yeah, so let's see it. Let's replay. Can you show me the touchdown? Because I want to see that. That was amazing.
Well, there's another side to this too, which is Trump could have got those 75 million people to vote for Biden too.
No, it's,
you know what I mean?
No, actually he did. I think he did. But the point is, Trump is a how should we say it? Just a strong flavor.
Of course.
Trump is a strong flavor. And what people are saying is like, no, he actually motivated 146 million people to vote.
Right. Both sides.
Both sides. Now,
it wasn't Biden who
and
motivated
also
him.
somehow magically got 30% of the Hispanic vote and lost.
Yeah.
And also his coattails, everybody did much better than expected. Down ballot. All the down ballot Republicans did much better.
Senate's still kind of hanging in the balance.
No, it is now because people are saying, a little oh crap moment of Did we not drop that short bus off full of ballots? And
we got it coming. We got it coming.
Don't worry. But the thing is, anybody who went to bed thinking that they would stop counting while all the states were red was out of their minds. We all knew, like, man, they're going to be counting in Pennsylvania until it's blue. They're going to keep on finding stuff. Georgia, we got 25,000 more ballots. Oops. It's actually, we found another 60,000. Like, it just kept on going. We live in a, shall we say, a technologically sophisticated age.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, well, it defies belief that people were doing this better in the 80s.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
So I think it's
really
the Rudy Giuliani's become quite the character in the Trump administration's.
Just keeping our
he makes me laugh.
Humor.
But he's back in. Of course, he's Trump's lawyer.
Yeah, this was Saturday.
And this was Saturday.
The poll? Because they don't decide the election. The call for Joe Biden is it? Who was it called by? Oh my goodness, all the networks. Wow. All the networks. We have to forget about the law. Judges don't count. All the networks thought Biden was going to win by 10%. Gee, what happened? Come on, don't be ridiculous. Networks don't get to decide elections. Courts do. Of course, courts set aside elections when they're illegal. In this particular case, I don't know if there's enough evidence to set aside the entire election. Certainly not around the country, maybe in Pennsylvania. However, there certainly is enough evidence to disqualify a certain number of ballots. The ballots that were not properly inspected should be thrown out.
This is really interesting. So when I saw this, I've noticed that the tone had changed a little bit.
Okay.
It had changed to, hey, we've got a whole bunch of voter fraud, especially in the beginning of this. Now that things are kind of turned more towards Biden, it's like, hey, even if they find some voter fraud,
do we have enough?
They don't feel like they have enough numbers to actually turn the election. But they are still trying to point to the fact that we have voter fraud. And so how deep and how far does it go?
Well, Donald Trump tweeted on Saturday morning, all caps, because we would expect nothing less.
Well, that's how you get past the Twitter block.
How do you know this?
I won this election by a lot! ! Then about 6 hours later, the observers were not allowed into the counting rooms. I won the election, got 71 million legal votes. Bad things happened, which our observers were not allowed to see. Never happened before, Nate. Millions of mail-in ballots were sent to people who never asked for them. And then finally, just recording this on Saturday, 71 million legal votes, the most ever for a sitting president. So he's going for it.
And that's true. That's actually the thing that's hilarious is that's very true.
It's actually true.
It's not just more than any vote for a sitting president. It's more than any votes ever for a candidate other than Joe Biden, who we all know motivates mankind like no other candidate ever. So it is really interesting because we know election fraud happens. We can talk about it in the distance. People can easily say,
it's
Joe
never
Kennedy
happened before.
Joe Kennedy did a deal with the mob in Chicago and got JFK elected. Everyone knows that. That's not
it's not private information.
It's not private information anymore. And the question is like, did it because he was supposed to get them their casinos back in Havana, and he did not. And so then he hired his brother to go after them as attorney general, and they both end up dead.
Yep.
Is that all connected? We'd be dumb not to think so. Well, Scorsese certainly thought so in The Irishman.
This is also connected to a famous football play that we're going to look at.
This is what I think's going on.
Well, hold on.
Hold on.
They're going to have to wait for it. So we're going to talk to John Zmirak, and then we're going to come back. We're going to show some football footage, and you're going to tell us how this famous play is connected to our world.
Yeah, and I got questions about some Rona stuff, too, if that played anything.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. More cross-politic coming up next.
All right, well, the rapture's not happening. The world is not about to come to an end. What do we do now?
If everything's going to end in the next 10 years, then what you've done is you've put a set of training wheels on evangelical Christians. I'm not alone in all of this. This isn't an individual. We're not an army of one. There's a community at large here.
Jesus bought this city, my nation, my state, with his blood. And so I'm working towards that.
Already need a little more.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
Take a swig.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. We are very pleased to have with us on the line now Mr. John Zmirak. He's senior editor of The Stream, author of the new Politically Incorrect Guide to Catholicism. He received his BA from Yale, MFA, and PhD.
He's a liberal?
English from Louisiana State University. Hey, you set this interview up, man. It's your fault. His focus was in the English Renaissance and the novels of Walker Percy. Maybe we talk about that sometime with him.
That's fun.
He's been press secretary to pro-life Louisiana Governor Mike Foster, reporter, editor at Success Magazine, Investors Business Daily, among other publications. He's also, his writings have appeared in First Things, Weekly Standard, Atlantic Journal, Constitution USA Today, Front Page Magazine, and the list goes on. He's the author, co-author, editor of 12 books, and writes regularly at The Stream.
Yes.
John, thanks for joining us on Cross Politic.
Thank you. Let me just give people the URL, stream.org. I write there 5 days a week. It's James Robinson's website. You know, he's the television evangelist, been around, old friend of Billy Graham.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
And a brand new article going up quick. This is the link you've got on there now,
Yeah,
Gabe. Why
listen.
it's logical. That link will be going up.
Why it's logical, Christian, and charitable to suspect the election was stolen.
Very good.
Yeah.
John, so give us the 90,000-foot view of the election. What has just happened?
Well, Joe Biden cooperated with the Chinese bioterror attack on America. Now, let me unpack that. China, this virus escaped from a lab. We don't know how. We don't know where it comes from. It's spreading around Wuhan province and the rest of China. They locked China down. They keep sending flights out to the rest of the world. What is that about? They sent 1 million people on airplane flights out of China when it was illegal to travel inside China because of the Wuhan virus. Donald Trump ordered those flights stopped. Joe Biden said that was wrong and that was xenophobic. And for 3 more months, he continued to oppose the travel ban. And those 1 million people who flew to Europe and America, those are the people who spread this virus internationally. China wanted to make sure that it didn't suffer alone. If it was going to have the virus, all its competitors were going to too. Let's remember, this is a totalitarian government that has 1 million people in concentration camps for their religious beliefs, Muslims and Christians and Falun Gong members.
Yep.
This is a ruthless government that still enforces forced abortion on its people. They used to only allow 1 child, now they allow 2. If you have more than 2 kids, they force you to abort them. That's the kind of government we're talking about. Joe Biden cooperated with them, opposed the travel ban, then embraced these insane lockdowns of our economy that didn't save a single life. And we see in Sweden that didn't lock down. It didn't save any lives. It did trash the economy, the great recovery that Trump had managed, and it did help Biden for the election. Then blue state governors used this to close churches, to suppress political meetings, but they allowed violent riots of Antifa and Black Lives Matter members trying to burn down police stations with policemen inside. Meanwhile, the churches were closed, that people couldn't go to work, and these same governors in New York, in New Jersey, in Connecticut, in Michigan, in California, they talked about how they wanted to save lives, but they dumped COVID patients from hospitals into nursing homes,
Right.
killing maybe 20,000 people. 1/10 of the total death toll or more were nursing home patients, the most vulnerable people who should have been protected. Democrat governors put COVID patients there. We still don't have a rational explanation of why they did that. The only thing I can think of is they were trying to inflate the death totals so they could keep the lockdown, so they could beat Donald Trump. The Democrats have been trying to impeach him. They made up the Russia collusion thing. It was a hoax. They used fake intel from a Hillary Clinton campaign document that was produced by this guy, Christopher Steele, who was working for Hillary.
Right.
All of it turned out to be false. The day Donald Trump was elected, they announced they were the resistance and they were going to fight him, that he was not a legitimate president. And that's how they acted. Then they impeached him over one phone call to Ukraine, asking about Joe Biden's potential corruption there. It turns out Hunter Biden's laptop was sitting at the FBI with proof that Biden had corrupt ties to Ukraine and Communist China, that he accepts money from Communist China filtered through Hunter, that Communist China had blackmail information on him, namely all those photos of Hunter Biden doing drugs, being with potentially underage girls. That was blackmail information the Chinese government could use against him. God knows how much more they have. So all along, even the FBI did not share that information with the president, who was nominally over them, and they worked for him. They didn't share that information, which would have completely eliminated the impeachment trial. It would have shown that Trump was justified. So what you see is virtually it's a collusion between our deep state, the Democratic Party, and the Communist government of China. And if they manage to steal this election, China wins. Their attack on America succeeds.
John, you kind of sound making me feel like I'm a conspiracy theorist listening to you.
It's a conspiracy reality. I mean, conspiracies happen, right?
Yeah,
we know there have been conspiracies before, right? The Nazis were a conspiracy. The communists in Russia were a conspiracy. Clearly, sometimes there are conspiracies, right?
Yeah, right.
This clearly is one of them. Joe Biden, under blackmail, being paid by China, enacts China's policy, helps China's bioattack on us, and now would be, in some senses, I think, a puppet of China. And there's no way we're going to stand up against Chinese aggression against Taiwan, aggression against Hong Kong, aggression against India. It's trade attacks. It's theft of intellectual property. And the Democrats were willing to go along with all this because they were not willing to accept Donald Trump was legitimately president. And now they are demanding that we accept Joe Biden as a legitimately elected president when none of the states have certified vote totals declaring him the winner. There's major evidence of voter fraud. There's software we found in several states that flip votes from Trump to Biden. These mail-in ballots that they foisted on us, again, using the virus as a pretext. These mail-in ballots are incredibly insecure. I know someone who got 17 ballots at his house. Yeah. And because he's a good person, he didn't fill them all in for Trump. But I don't think a lot of Democrats resist that temptation. And then the hoax that Donald Trump was somehow linked to white supremacists. Zero evidence for that, based on a false statement, based on them deliberately distorting what he said after the Charlottesville riots, where he explicitly condemned all white supremacists, and then said, now there are other people here who are worried about historical monuments. And some of them are fine people. He was not talking about the neo-Nazis.
Right,
it's obvious from the text, from the transcript, they've been lying.
Right.
And the fact that Donald Trump got historic percentages of non-white votes, higher than any Republican in decades, should tell us ordinary Americans of color can see through this hoax, but the media doesn't want to listen to it.
Right. So is this election... would you accept it if it went through the courts and everything kind of turned out in favor of Biden? Would Joe Biden be the president?
If our courts look at all the evidence of voter fraud and determine the evidence is not sufficient, then yes, I guess we'll have to accept it. And then we just fight him tooth and nail. We make sure we hold on to the Senate because right now they're trying to steal the Georgia Senate seats. If they get that, they control the Senate. Then they can pack the Supreme Court, overturn the Second Amendment,
That's right.
Add new states like make Philadelphia a state, make Puerto Rico a state, maybe make Manhattan a state, and just in order to gain power, they're talking about eliminating the Electoral College, giving amnesty to 20 million illegal immigrants, and suspending all enforcement of our border laws. The Democrats are doing anything they can to grab total power in America. Meanwhile, the media is moving in lockstep behind them. Even Fox News has switched sides. On election night, you could see Fox News was pulling for Biden. The New York Post, owned by Rupert Murdoch, who owns Fox News, the New York Post went from exposing Hunter Biden's laptop a week ago. Now they're denouncing Trump and saying he shouldn't fight for the election. So I don't think we can trust Fox News anymore either. We're going to have no mainstream media reporting the facts that's not in the tank for the Democrats. I kind of feel like we're in Germany, East Germany, or Poland, or Hungary in 1948. That's when the communists, through fake elections and control of the media, imposed their control on those once free countries.
I mean, cross politic is pretty mainstream. I mean,
So while we wait, obviously we should want judges to examine all of this. We should want this to be as transparent as possible. While we're waiting for that to happen, I mean, what do run of the mill Americans who care about truth? What do they do? I mean, what do you do? You say, I care about the truth, and there's the deep state. I mean, whatever. Like, how do you respond to that? What should we do?
First, pray. Fast if you can. Get in touch with your friends. Let them know they're not crazy for not accepting this. Speak on social media as much as you can, unless you get banned, as increasingly people are getting banned. I'm in Twitter jail for a week right now.
Looks nice.
I mean, Steve Bannon's TV show was cut off halfway through.
Yep. Yeah. Yes, it was.
And it feels like everybody needs to go back and reread 1984.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're not exercising your Second Amendment rights, do it now while you have them.
I woke up this morning and Facebook has instituted new requirements for posting, and we have a Facebook group, and now all admins have to approve anyone who posts in our Facebook group.
Every post?
Every post.
You have to moderate every single one.
Yes. I mean, like this happened this morning.
It's just a private corporation. Don't worry about it, right? Yeah. I mean, big social media knew that Donald Trump was going to come after them for their censorship and their bias.
Yep.
So they threw themselves 100% behind electing Biden, no matter what it took.
Yep.
I'm convinced that Donald Trump had gotten double the number of votes he actually got. It wouldn't have made any difference. They were always going to try to steal this election. They virtually announced it in advance. Why else a year ago were they saying Donald Trump will not accept the results of this election? He will not accept the results. We're going to have to use the military to get him out of the White House. What is that but a tell that they plan to steal it? I love this. 2 weeks ago, Joe Biden said, we have the largest, most extensive voter fraud organization in American history.
Yeah.
Now, and then he also said, look, I don't need you voters to get me elected. I need you afterwards. Now, people say those are slips of the tongue of a senile, drooling shell of a man. If Donald Trump had said, look, we've got the best Russian collusion ever.
Yeah.
They wouldn't say, oh, it was a slip of the tongue. They wouldn't say you're taking his comments out of context. They would be nailing his hide to the wall. So the double standard could not be more overt and out in the open.
Hey, John, I want to ask you, when I'm watching the news, I've been watching everything. And one of the things that bothers me is when they do this shotgun blast of the whole, either side, where there is voter fraud or where there isn't. They don't take one particular situation and walk it out where we can say, okay, that's a valid case. Maybe we should investigate that one a lot further. Can we just work through one of these that you're seeing and say, look, here is a place that we should be very concerned about. And as we look at that place, John, does it really matter to the election right now?
Michigan certainly matters. And now we found there was software that flipped votes from Trump to Biden. And that same software was used in 30 other states.
47.
How about
47 counties?
How about all the dead people who voted in Pennsylvania? How about all those votes that came in after the deadline? Here's something. According to the Constitution, state legislatures set the rules for elections.
Right.
That's right.
The rules in Pennsylvania did not allow people to mail their ballots after Election Day. Imagine that. You have to mail your ballot before Election Day. That's such an outrageous requirement, right? A state court, the Pennsylvania Attorney General went to court and got the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to overturn the legislature's own law on when ballots had to come in. Whoa. And John Roberts wouldn't rule on it. Well, now it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and we have Barrett on the court, so it's not an even number. There is now an odd number of justices, so we might get a decision that would throw out those ballots that illegally came in after the deadline of Election Day. How can you argue that you should be allowed to mail your ballot after Election Day? That would just allow people to say, oh, wait, we need 7,000 votes? Let's get 7,001.
Yeah. So, John, at the end of this, What do you think happens if you put your prophetic hat on? Do you think we end up with a Biden Harris presidency, or does Trump pull it out?
It depends on individual judges and their honesty and integrity. I'll tell you what my backup plan is. If they do steal this election, Donald Trump needs to buy something like Fox or bring himself over to like The Blaze or One America News and start going on 3 hours a day. Because, Rush Limbaugh is not well. We need somebody to fill those shoes, and Trump would be perfect. He needs to be on television 3 hours a day, countering what the Democrats are doing and keeping his people and his voters and the movement he created alive for the next congressional election and the next presidential election, when Trump, I think, will be healthy and vigorous and ready to run again.
So if Trump doesn't win this election, you think he's going 2024?
Yep, I don't think he's going anywhere. Until one of his sons is young enough, is old enough and experienced enough to take over for him. I think the Trump movement is permanent, and that if the establishment Republicans who want open borders, pointless, stupid wars in the Middle East, cheap labor, and low taxes, that is the movement that's dead. And the Never-Trumpers were desperately trying to say, no, we're back. It's Jeb Bush's party again. We're going to run Nikki Haley, who's basically Jeb Bush in a dress and heels. You've actually never seen them photographed together. I think it may just be a makeup. Sorry, the dogs.
The dogs are laughing at that one.
Yeah, he's like, that's a funny one, Dad.
Now, my beagles have no use for Nikki Haley. They just said neocon in Beaglese.
There we go.
So I think the Trump movement is here to stay, and that's a damn good thing, to have a working class party that reaches across ethnic lines, that organizes people around the needs of the most vulnerable: unborn children, working class Americans, the elderly who are threatened by the youth. The Democrats are behind euthanasia as well as abortion. In fact, Joe Biden's main advisor on the COVID virus was named Ezekiel Emanuel, Rahm Emanuel's brother. Yep. And he said nobody should live past age 70.
Well,
and if you're 70, sorry?
I said, well, thanks.
Yeah. If you get past 70, he said you should not get medicine. Wow. Except like painkillers.
Wow.
This is Joe Biden's main medical advisor. Now are we surprised they dumped COVID patients in nursing homes? It was euthanasia by virus.
Wow.
This sounds crazy. You sound crazy when you just report the facts. You sound like a wacko. Wasn't that scary? If you want to get away with something really insane, make it so over the top that if anyone even reports on it, they sound crazy, and then you can get away with it. And that's how the Democrats got away with this. Why else are they allowed to march? They're marching around now celebrating for Biden. The virus magically disappeared. But if we try to go to church on Sunday and sing, the virus will exist again.
Yep. It's a smart virus, John. It's a smart virus.
You can follow. Those Chinese, give them credit. They created a virus that only spreads among Christians and Orthodox Jews, but does not spread when Antifa has arrived. It's amazing. It's biotechnology.
Follow John at Twitter when he gets out of Twitter jail. Jay
if he gets
Zmirak.
Hey Jay, hey, thank you so much for coming on Cross Politics, man.
Thank you guys.
Boy, I hope you're wrong, dude. I hope you're wrong.
I always hope I'm wrong. God bless you guys.
God bless you too. More Cross Politics coming up next.
Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations. Our most precious commodity is time. No one has ever lied on their deathbed wishing they had spent more time making money. They all wish they had spent more time creating a legacy. Our modern education system steals that legacy, steals that time from our children. That's why I'm passionate about homeschooling. That's why at Classical Conversations we want to give you more time to create that legacy, follow your passions, and glorify God. Visit classicalconversations.com for more information.
Hello, my name is Dr. Rod Story. I'm a family doctor here in Moscow, Idaho. Did you have a family doctor when you were growing up? The kind of doctor that knew you, that maybe took care of your whole family? The doctor that would visit you after hours, take care of those little life emergencies like broken bones or rashes or chest colds that need to be seen on the weekend? Let me tell you about how we're doing that again. We're unique. We're a direct primary care clinic. Direct primary care is a really neat model. It lets us care for most of what you'd see a family doctor for, maybe even more. And it does it under a single monthly membership. It lets us be independent, lets us be really consistent with our Christian beliefs. So I encourage you to check us out. Look forward to seeing you.
What is this? I don't even know what this is.
A friend of ours, Joel Askell, sent us this. This is from Far Cry 5. Keep your rifle by your side.
There you go. Welcome back to Cross Politic. Oh, John Zmirak just goes. Just goes. Just put the coin in and he just goes.
I'm still processing that.
On digital fire.
Yeah, I'm still processing.
With the beagles.
Yeah.
The beagles in the background.
I think he's very funny.
Yeah. Barking. Hey, just a reminder, we got Indy Wilson in the studio today. I don't think we actually fully introduced you this time around, but hey.
Everybody should know.
You know Indy.
He's
you
our
know
people.
Nate.
I told you this was going to happen.
Yeah,
you did.
Yeah, exactly. Gabe says we're getting Nate in because this is his fault.
Back in March, if you guys remember, we had Nate on the show,
right?
And Nate said that we kind of that was right when the Corona thing was starting to happen. And Nate said things are going to get way more crazier than they are now.
At the election,
this is at the election
End of the year,
than they are
yeah.
now.
Yeah, you said it's going to ramp up,
and so it's your fault. That we're here, and that's why I'm bringing you to account and holding you accountable, and that's why I'm bringing you on the show again.
Can you please stop prophesying things like this?
Do you want the bad news or the worst news?
Well, I think we got the bad news.
Then you want the worst news?
The worst news, yeah, absolutely. But this is why I actually went against you guys on our election show and said I'm giving this one to Biden. It was that, and I also
no, man, I don't give you that at all. I mean, because it's a
you're holding out for Trump still.
No. I mean, this is a joke of election. So I'm not giving that to you.
And what do you make the rest?
I'm not giving that to you.
I don't know that.
You choose the vote.
This is one of the jokiest of the modern era. It's one of those things where, like the Russian collusion thing, hey, let's real quick accuse somebody and impeach him for something which we have been doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
That's where we are, and I think people are talking about a civil war. Like, we're already there.
Yeah,
this is what a civil war looks like, and it's just this is the Cold War phase.
Yeah.
And you have, and I'm not saying that we're going to end up with National Guards shooting each other in the streets, but it is, when I text my Biden friends, and there's a fair number of them, to none of them, not one, cares if there was voter fraud.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah. Right.
They don't. There's no. Conservatives can have an idolatrous love of the American system, and the left does not.
Yeah.
Right. We know that, and the conservatives can be mad saying, "Hey, you want to undermine the American system?" It's like, well,
right. Well, the American system is whatever they want it to be.
Yeah, we put that in our brochure. It's in like it's
like on our platform.
So you have this situation where if you ask Biden supporters like, "Hey, if you had a lever that you could throw that would just disappear all evidence of voter fraud, like right now, I could say, hey, Georgia is going Trump, Pennsylvania's going Trump, Michigan's going Trump, Arizona's going Trump.
Right.
That's game over, right?
Yep.
Because of voter fraud. But you can hit that button, you can make it disappear. Yeah. And we just have President Biden. Would you feel bad about doing it? And the answer is no. So what we have now is the year was 1982 as we move to this clip.
Oh yeah.
The Stanford Cal game, the very famous Stanford Cal game. I think that's what we're doing right now. This is the presidential equivalent of this play.
It's in the books now. It's a 25-20 win for Cal. People are saying if they live to be 1,000, they will never see another finish like that. So here it is, one more time, the play to beat the band.
Last play of the game. No time left on the clock.
8 seconds. 8 seconds left when they kicked it. Now, right here, people thought he was down. Oh, but he got it out.
Oh.
No, he didn't.
Yeah,
His knee was down. His knee was down.
And that is when the Stanford band ran on the field. And all the Stanford players.
Oh, there's a flag thrown. Oh, that's
because people are running on the field. Yeah. Oh, that guy just threw it over his head. He didn't even know.
Oh, there's the band.
Oh, yeah, here we are. This is the Biden celebration. Run through here on the trombonist, and boom.
Oh, my goodness.
So, and there goes Donald J. Trump right there.
Right.
I won, he says.
Wow. Okay.
That is hilarious.
Okay, so walk us through this.
Yeah.
Walk us through this.
What we have right now is the situation is the worst for everybody because you have the Stanford band on the field.
Right.
And all the Biden people celebrating and the media saying he's the president.
And CNN and Fox.
And they're, not
MSNBC.
saying, and they're not saying projected. They're saying he's the president.
He's the president.
And that's it. He is the new president. Donald J. Trump, you are a trespasser. If he gets the evidence he needs, because on the face of it, we know there was fraud. That's the lurches, the go to sleep, the 100% Biden vote drops that happened. Like we can look at it. We can look at Biden's crushing Obama's popular vote record when he stayed in his basement and nobody cared.
Had rallies with like 10 people.
Yeah, like he couldn't get people to show up for a rally.
Yeah.
And this is where we are. He's crushing this popular vote record. He's swinging red states. Red states are getting called blue with like no evidence.
Right.
Real quick. And CNN was actually, I thought, quite responsible and cautious through the whole election night.
Yeah, they actually were.
But I think they were determined to not be emotional no matter what.
Because they've been through this already. 4 years ago, they got hit.
And so Fox was determined to be mainstream. Right. And so they leaned left. And CNN, because they've been so rah-rah last time, and CNN was determined to be not emotional. So I think that's why you saw the broadcast the way we did. But we have the band on the field.
Right.
The band's on the field now. The question is, does the band successfully tackle that ball carrier?
Right.
They should have.
If the band had tackled him,
what kind of play? Yeah.
What do we do then?
Yeah,
He's on the ground. The
illegal.
trombonist didn't get knocked over in the end zone. The trombonist laid him out on the 5-yard line. That's where we are. Where the question is, does Trump end up in the end zone?
Does he make it?
Does he make it via legal challenges in Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan?
Evidence.
And the thing is, what we saw in Wisconsin. So what we see defies credulity, and I happen to speak liar fluently. It's
like parcel tongue.
Yeah, I was born with it. You know, so I speak liar fluently. And when you and it's seriously, I do. It's I could be in the other room and hear one of my kids say something to my wife in the kitchen and be like, "Well, no,
that was a lie."
I speak that language. I've channeled it into fantasy novels. That's how I channeled my kids. But when you look at Wisconsin and you look at I think it was 60 boroughs or whatever they are in Wisconsin around Milwaukee who went 95% and over for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
More than 20 went 98% and over in Milwaukee. And we're talking about these are boroughs that went in the 60s for Hillary and 71 for Obama. Mm-hmm. And they're going 98% for Sleepy Joe.
Yep.
Okay. And then we have the 137,000 votes found in Michigan that were 100% Biden.
Yeah.
Okay. I speak liar. Like I don't have to be smart to know.
You make up stories for a living.
Right. I make up stuff. And I could make this hang together with more plausibility than they have. It's implausible. It is impossible. This is not the case. Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Georgia, all dirty. Yeah. All of them dirty. The question is not were they dirty. The question is, can you prove it in court?
That's the question.
And can you prove it in court to a judge
right.
who can stand up to a mob? Because we are now in the situation where the riots in the streets have let everybody know what is happening.
That's
if
right.
you swing this now, we've gotten our hopes up. Mm-hmm. It is important that we got our hopes up.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their hopes up for Biden. We're all amped for Biden. Biden won. We're not waiting. We're giving the trophy on the field.
Right.
Like we're down on the field. The streamers are going. We're handing the trophy. And now, you're saying
who's going to be the ref that says, "All right, everybody off the field. This was an illegal play. This is over."
Yeah, the previous play is under review. Like really, we already gave the trophy. We've done the thing. It's given. It's done.
Right.
Now, in Trump's corner, he's got possession. He's in the White House. And they're trying really hard to get that possession because possession is 9/10 of the law. So they need the 71 million people who voted for Trump to think that Biden won. He's got it. He owns it now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's his. So if they legally go get state legislatures to swing electors based on fraud, they're like, you know what? We're not even going to recount. We just want you, state legislature, to swing your electors.
Certify the electors. Certify the election.
You're going to do that like that.
Yeah.
That would be wild. At this point, we have seen nothing compared to the riots we would see if any court tries to give this trophy to Trump.
Right.
Those riots are bonkers. But what we haven't seen yet is what happens when the 71 million Trump voters, who all also, a large number of them, speak liar, when they know it's dirty.
It's bogus. Yep.
And you tell them, nope, like, we're taking it.
Right.
What do they do? Now, Trump, if he was a wise and cautious man, would try to mitigate that. He is not.
Right. He'll stoke it. He'll stoke it.
He is stung. He is angry. He is receiving the humiliation that I told you about in March. Like, Trump will be humbled. He has to be. This is God's story. So, what does pride go before? We know what pride goes before.
Yeah.
That goes for the left. That goes for the right. So Trump's getting what he deserved, which is public humiliation, while getting a massive popular vote. So 71 million, and yet humiliated. But he has no dignity. Like, there's no dignity here. He's not going to try to.
There's nothing to lose now.
If he did, it's gone.
No, and if he did, they took it from him a long time ago. So so he's in this brawl. He's in this brawl no matter what. And if there are still court cases going, he's not leaving that White House. If there are still court cases going,
January 20th.
Yep. If there are still court cases going, he's not leaving. If there's still court cases going, no one's evicting him. Like, you're not going to get, like, Pelosi says, well, the Secret Service throw him out. It's like, well, you know what? They'll actually listen to a judge, but they're gonna wait and see what's ruling. The Supreme Court pooched this one mightily back when they just refused to decide on Pennsylvania in advance.
Right.
Yeah. They kicked it back to Pennsylvania and said, you guys decide.
They just abdicated.
That was Roberts, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But now Barrett's on the court, so that's
and people are talking about how outrageous that they're actually going to even look at it. We knew this was a completely broken court, that they're going to look at this thing. They're going to look at evidence in Wisconsin. They're going to look at evidence in Michigan. They're going to look at evidence in Georgia. They're going to look at evidence in Nevada. They're going to look at evidence in Arizona. The first state that toggles will start to undo the entire narrative, and you'll start to see cities burn.
Yeah.
All we need is a crack in the door where one state flips, and there's other cases where they're pursuing it with other states, and you'll see crazy amounts of riots.
This is where I think God's exposing all of America now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think our Supreme Court doesn't want to decide this election.
No,
they don't.
Nobody does. And
because you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
So back to the what happens. You said we're not taking into account the 71 million who voted for Trump,
who feel righteous because they've been robbed.
But I'm a little bit haunted by something that Knox said election night when we were talking about who was going to win. You said I think Biden might win, and your reasoning was, and I think it's strong, was I look around at all the masking,
and compliance,
and Trump. I mean, this is
the people who don't want to fight.
Trump went. I mean, the middle America kind of rolled with the masking.
Idaho did.
The large majority of our nation. Christians shut down their churches.
They're not nearly as anal. They're not nearly as hyper about it. You're more likely to find in sort of flyover country people that are acting more reasonable about it. But they're still masking up. They're still going along with it.
They shut down their businesses.
They didn't go to church.
They followed every form of compliance that they possibly could that they shouldn't have.
Little pushback.
Do they actually have the pushback? If
I'd say the fringe does.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
The fringe does.
Sure.
The core,
the Black Lives Matter version of the conservative side.
Yeah. The Clive and Bundys. Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, they do. And you better believe the Clive and Bundys are going to add a couple zeros to their numbers.
I saw somebody on Twitter who said, when the left is mad and they riot, they throw fireworks and bricks. When the fringe right gets mad, they blow up buildings.
They show up with Gadsden flags and ARs, but they don't. I mean, like when people like McVeigh's or things like that, they want about Timothy McVeigh to be like a traditional right. It's like whatever. Yeah. He was a psycho. Yeah. There are psychos.
David Koresh.
There are psychos. Right. Yeah, there are psychos on both sides. I know. But it's so but the thing is, you will have people who think they are up against a successful coup. They will think America has just been conquered.
Right.
been conquered because this is Zmirak's position and everything else, been conquered by a Manchurian candidate, been conquered by a foreign power. They've been overthrown, and the election's been thrown out. These are people who are naive, who do not understand that, man, knives are in everybody's backs in every major election.
And levers, yeah.
And the thing is that Trump knew, and Trump should have been ready. And when you go to win an election, you're not going to win a popularity contest. It's not everybody text in. There's going to be some kind of algorithm that just automatically scores it neutrally.
Right.
Like, you got to be ready to brawl, and you got to be ready to brawl in advance. And I know that he has thousands of lawyers ready to go.
Yep.
But he should have had them going
way before now.
Way before.
They lost a lot in the
and I think,
before this.
And I think that Trump lost the election when he, the germaphobe that he is, got rolled on the Rona.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when he got rolled there, I think that's when I thought, well,
yep, that's me too.
Here we go.
Me too.
And honestly, like the important thing here is for Christians is just that God is in his heaven. And if you were pinning your hopes, to Trump, then you need this. You need to get slapped. Like this.
You need to get humbled.
Yeah.
That's right.
So last time you were here, that was, we asked you basically, hey, what is the future kind of looking like as best you can see from the tea leaves now? So kind of do that again.
Okay.
I'll do it now. Try harder this time.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. I don't know.
Tell me.
I'm still mad at Nate.
Tell me what your Cash App is.
Okay.
So that,
So here's the deal. What we just saw, and this is what Trump was not ready for. What we just saw was not a traditional socialist seizure of media, making media state. We saw the seizure of the state by media, which is new. Like that's brand new. The closest thing to what we've seen, or what we're seeing right now with Twitter, is Jim Crow, where people said, "No, it's a private business. I could build a toll road and say no Negroes. I can have a sundown town, right? I can have a sundown city.
It's your state.
It's my state. It's my county. I can do it. It's
your
ours.
business. Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're seeing again. But we're seeing it in a really weird like tech oligarchy. So this tech oligarchy that we now see, the CEOs of social media platforms have more power than the president because they can pick the president.
Yep.
We can have a guy who doesn't campaign. Does not campaign,
and he still win president.
And he pulls in 75 million votes, smashes, and every time he does get up, he says some babba bath cap.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what I mean. We've been working hard on the voter fraud.
Yeah,
sorry, there's a slip of the tongue. I meant something else that rhymes with fraud. Like what? No, that's just weird. Like he could bumble and stumble his way through everything, but the tech oligarchs made their decision. And Trump failed to identify who he was fighting, and he failed to win. He just did. So if you look at it, this is a battle. This is not a neutral beauty pageant. This is a battle. He lost. He has lost the battle. Will he have a Stanford Band moment at the end? Maybe. If he does, more people will get shot. Cities will burn. It'll be ugly because trying to take that trophy back is going to be...
good luck.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be really difficult. But anyway, that's where we are right now. And so tech oligarchy, and I would like to say that this is not 2020. Everybody's talking about crazy 2020. This is what historically I think will be known as the 2020s. I think we're in it for a decade.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at a decade.
Yeah.
And I think when we roll over to 2030, this country will be just unrecognizable.
Yep.
I think we're going into a period.
I already feel like that.
Right?
I already feel like that.
But you also should know that this is the part of the roller coaster just now, right now. This roller coaster year is the part when if you watch a video of somebody on the coaster where at first it's like, they're all yelling and screaming. And there's that moment where they just go limp and they look sick where it's like, got to go zen now.
Yeah.
That's where we're entering.
Gotta hold it in.
We're entering that phase and we're in it. We're in it for years. This is not going away. If Biden hangs on to the presidency, we got national mask mandates. We're going to have incredible emergency powers, encroachment.
Yep.
We have tech oligarchs
All right,
who
we're
have
done.
to get dealt with.
Turn his mic off.
Yeah, and it's like, and so, but the thing is, like, I think when we roll towards 2030, this country will be fundamentally different. A side will have won, and the dust will be settling. And I think this decade will define the first half of this century.
Yeah.
So how the battle goes in the 2020s will determine
the rest of the decade.
I think the rest.
And I want to hear you rightly. You're not saying that what it looks like in 2030 is determined.
No,
you're saying we're rolling into a fight.
Yeah,
I mean, there's going to be a decade here of struggle.
And depending on which way, I think whichever way it goes, whoever wins this decade will own the first half of the century.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
and so there's a call in here though for Christians, like, get busy.
Yeah,
Yep.
You got work to do.
Literally, birth rates are everything.
no, that's real.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
that's
I guess
real.
It's a numbers game.
But
It's a
that's-
numbers game.
And keep your kids.
There's,
Yeah,
there's
please.
two things that today before we came here to do this show, one of the thoughts that was running in my head because of the whole mask mandate thing and everything that I've seen with that and people who I thought were ready to engage and have been preparing for battle, I begin to realize that a lot of people that I'm thinking are ready for battle are actually enslaved, and that's why they're acting like this. And what God has to do for people who are enslaved is rub them up against sand until he gets that off of them so that they can be able to fight. And remember, the children of Israel coming out of Egypt, he didn't take them right where the battle was because
They weren't ready for
their
it.
heart would be gone. This is what the scripture says. And so
Right.
he took them through the wilderness.
Took them a long way.
Yeah, and so part of me kind of feels like that. And then on top of that, I was thinking about that. What was it? The Smog came on, the Hobbit.
Yeah.
And the scene where the father is at the top of the balcony, he's about to, he's fighting the dragon that's coming, and the dragon has taken all his arrows, and his son comes up the tower with the arrow that comes from his grandfather, right? And he pokes the holes in the side of the wood so he can make, a bow again. And he's trying to figure out where to hit this dragon at. And when he looks up, he sees a hole that his grandfather had left where he had hit the dragon. And he says, there goes my spot. And and as you were talking about, when you say birthright and birthing and children, everything, I'm looking now and I'm saying, okay, how do I make the hole?
Yeah.
So that
So for your grandkids.
for my grandkids,
That's
and
right.
that their
good,
kids
Knox. Yeah,
can bring
that's right.
up that spear, right, and
what's-
give it to
what-
my son.
What's your 10-year plan? What's
How do
your
I
20-year
leave a
plan?
dent?
Yeah.
Say this: strike here, children.
Yeah.
Fight here.
Yeah.
And that's right now. So I'm asking, in one sense, Nate, like, where's the place to leave the mark? Because if we're going through this, we might not be able to take out all of it at one place, but we can give a good direction on where to strike at.
Yeah. So I think it's build. I mean, that's what it is. I think that if Biden hangs on, it's Sherwood Forest mode more than ever, and it's build. And the worst thing you can do is be, breeders for Babylon.
Amen. Come on,
so,
now. Come on, now.
which is incidentally, I can say, yeah. I mean, like if you take any large group and you say, okay, how many kids do you have? You'll be lucky to keep 70% of them.
Yeah, right. Right.
I mean, that's
Statistically, that's how it's been going.
That is great news. To keep 70% is great news. And most places it's much lower than that. So the thing is, where we are is people who I can appreciate tax cuts. I can appreciate keeping more of my money. I can appreciate justices. Like there's things like that. But I've never been rah Trump. Like because he's Kamala Harris is going to come for us, but it's I've never been rah Trump because that's not where my hope is. And the long-term story here, like what is the story? What are we in? Is written by an extremely patient author, where 50-year movements look like they look like nothing. But I think the 20s. I think this is the 60s. So I think like you look back and you say, okay, this is what the 1960s ended up being for the back end of the 20th century. We are right now. We're entering that phase. And there's a huge number of people who need to get their heads on straight and realize that America is not their savior.
Yeah. Amen.
And they 71 million people voting for Donald Trump. They all have their reasons, but in that group, you have many, many, many millions of people who are idolatrously hopeful.
That's right.
About a weird red, white, and blue Dagon.
Right. Right.
Where this is it, and there's
it's like
they are enslaved, and it's so like okay, God plays rough. Right. Like this is welcome to the threshing floor.
Right.
If Trump pulls off the Stanford band play, I will be astounded.
Be shocked.
I'll be shocked because judges are humans. Right. And when they're looking at the case, I think they're going to be looking for any way to say, "Oh, his knee was down on the 35." I mean, like they're gonna need that. Yeah. But then he's hurt enough and angry enough that I think Trump will say, "Okay, I'm running 2024.
Yeah,
sure, I'm going," and he's going to be campaigning
for 4
years.
Yep.
And this like fervor is going to be much bigger.
Yeah.
The next election. This next election is going to be much bigger.
Right.
And you're going to have people on the right who are 100% on board with cheating.
Yep.
And we're moving closer.
Oh, I'm already hearing it.
Yeah, they did it to
I'm
us.
already
They did it to us, so we'll do it to them.
Yeah. And there can be but the thing is, as they get disillusioned with the idol and they stop thinking the idol is holy and pious and neutral, and they start realizing, no, it's just power. It's just power, and when you have it, you can do what you want. And I want to do something righteous.
It's the ring.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
the ring.
I want to do something righteous with it. So I'm gonna do whatever.
Right.
I honestly think we have to be like right now, especially we have to be able to just okay. You wanted Trump to win, like God didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Period.
Suck it up.
Right.
But the problem is
Cheating,
people,
cheating or no
Now,
cheating.
if the Stanford band play happens, and if he ends up just body slamming a trombonist in the end zone because they didn't cover their tracks intelligently,
Right.
and the justices he's installed have this just ice cold nerve
Yep.
to tell burning cities to burn some more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just we're humans. Like we're humans. People are motivated by human motivations, and I think that right now it's highly unlikely that Trump pulls off the Stanford band play.
Right.
But that's where we are. The Stanford band's on the field. They're on the field. The question is whether the 37 laterals happen and
whether he can make it through the
right.
crowd.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I think is part of the play that we need to be running besides building is going back and just recovering local politics and the importance of local elections and the importance of all these democratic cities that are going through these voting problems. They're all Democratic run cities. They're all, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, the county clerk there is a Democrat.
Yep.
Yeah. Even in conservative Arizona, the county clerk there is a Democrat. And all these county clerks actually they get the orders from the state on how the election processes should go, and then they interpret it themselves and how it should go locally. And so we've just lost the interest in local politics when that's actually one of the lines of defense. I mean, our governor here in Idaho should have been resisting mask mandates. Yeah. We need
this goes back to the build. I mean, I think it's build everywhere.
Yeah.
Build everything. And depending on your gifts and your skill set and your interests, you're going to be building different things. But we need to be builders and makers.
Yep.
And not the slaves, not the servants. But for a long time, Christians have thought in terms of basically, I'm going to go to heaven when I die. Jesus is coming back next week.
Right.
And so I can just get this job because all I got to do is pay my bills and just kind of, make it through, rather than thinking in terms of long-term decades. How can I leave a mark for my grandkids?
Yeah.
Right.
Building and making so that the pagans are the ones that are coming to get jobs from us. And we're in a position. I mean, why is it that, liberals are the ones that run all the voting machines?
Yeah.
Like why
do they got their voting machines in 36 states?
Why is it not? Why is that
37 states.
Dominion not talking about Christian Dominion? Like why isn't it a Christian who's like, you know what? I want to make sure that the infrastructure for voting is done honestly. So I'm going to invent the software.
And it's where their religion is.
Of course,
it's hard. It's hard to focus on that because the problem. One of the temptations here for anybody who's sad about Biden is going to be to lose their joy. It's going to be to build things that are sour and fussy.
That's right.
And
Come on now.
the thing, and we're going into the holidays, and we're going into the holidays of 2020, and you guys better blow the doors off for your kids.
Rejoice. Amen.
It's like because
say that again, bro.
I mean, it's
Say
how it's
that.
got to be. It's Thanksgiving is coming, Christmas is coming. It's like you think this is one of the things that this is why education matters so much. It's like I can sit here and be a pretty dispassionate alien anthropologist because I know to whom Augustine was writing City of God. Preach up. It's like when Rome was falling and it was like the end of the world. If you're Irish monks and the Vikings are here again, to burn it all down again. It's been so much worse so many other places. It was worse on Christmas. It was so much worse.
Right.
It's like when the angels came and sang to that flock of sheep, it's like it was a pretty gnarly darkness that was everywhere.
Right.
And here we are, way downstream of the spread of the gospel.
Right.
And if you look at like projections, early projections are, the gospel is going to triumph. Right. I mean, it's like the early projections, everything. It's been called. It's been called for King Jesus. It's done.
Amen.
Jesus does make it to the end zone and hits the trombonist.
all the trombonists.
All the trombonists are gone.
That's exactly right.
So you're here, and it's like, okay, so get your blinders off and see outside of the next 4 years.
Yeah.
See, like, okay, so it's gonna be tough, or oh, you know what? It actually might not be. It could just be like the rot goes deeper, which was growing under Trump too. It's not like Trump was Mr. Righteous or good at math,
right.
So it's here we sit like in the wash of like the spread of the gospel, and some bad stuff has happened before, and God always uses it for good. Right. So
I can't help but think about the fact that we could have had Hillary for 4 years.
Yeah.
I can't help but think about that.
I'd much rather have Biden for
300 judges appointed by Hillary the last 4 years.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have Biden for about a year and a half.
I know it's
coming.
I can't imagine Biden.
He's not going to make it through the 4 years.
There's been God's been really kind to us, even through all this crazy mess. Like we don't even deserve that.
Right.
The thing that I want to go back to again is the reason he's like, hey, swallow it up and swallow it down and buck up and just do your thing. People haven't been doing that for years. Christians haven't been building much for years.
They fuss and complain, and then they ruin.
And they ask for a job.
Yeah.
And they ruin it right in front of them.
Yep. So when they see something like Trump, which is the one who's been, and why some of them are mad, why come he hasn't been managing Corona better? Because they're getting all their marching orders from.
Yep.
Those are their leaders,
right?
So there's nothing else for them to bite down on. They haven't been sending their kids. Think about this right now. If you're Southern Baptist Convention, how many of their kids are going to government schools?
Yeah,
they could end it all in probably 8 years if all of them took their kids for two graduations.
Southern Baptist Convention had a study, conducted a study. I think this was back in 2012. That found about 50% of their kids are losing their faith
50
by the time they get to college.
Yeah.
Because they're going to public school.
Right.
And I think even forget that. Yeah, they're going to public school, and that's a problem. Get your kids out. Yeah. But because their homes are not joyful, because their homes are not, they're not marinated in confidence and joy. For every single person, every 71 million individuals, all of them who threw a ballot, they all have an arm's length radius. Some of them have employees. Some of them just tend their own apartment. But everybody is in a role of responsibility. Everyone has a kingdom that they can reach. Yeah. And they're either ruling that kingdom faithfully with truth, goodness, and beauty, or they aren't, and they're failing. And the overwhelming majority are failing. That's the real story. The situation. So the thing is, I had a new person in the community that I was interacting with who's not part of our church community, who was saying, man, I had no idea. Not like a distinctively conservative person, a passionately conservative person, but just said, I had no idea that liberals basically could be this fussy. And I basically have known every person immediately who is part of the Christian community because they're so warm and they're so happy and they're so pleasant versus all the people who've been grabbing them and saying hey, beware of these horrible Christian people.
Don't go buy their coffee.
Doing this stressed out, super stressed fussiness. And so their response was it's so striking. It's just remarkably striking to just meet a community cold. These people are happy, and these people are really unhappy that those people are happy. It's if we're eating at a table set in the presence of our enemies for the next 4 years, great. Right. I think it's going to be for the next.
Throw some feasts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be for the next 40 years. I don't think it's the next 4. I think we're in it. I think we're going to be deep in it for a while. Yeah. And so everybody needs to focus on what's within arm's reach. Yeah. When's the next time you snap on your wife? The next time you're impatient with your kids? Yeah. Be joyful. Yeah. So if your kids are in the public schools, that's okay. Don't be surprised if you have them catechized by people who hate you.
Right.
That they hate you.
But there's a reason for that.
But the fact that you lost them to that, shows that you were failing in more fundamental ways. As well.
That's right.
Hey, as you're getting ready for the holidays, I want to invite you to go to indywilson.com. Can you buy the books there?
I don't know.
Or they just tell you about
I don't mind if you buy them from Amazon where they take all the money and
well,
just buy them.
But
go to Cannon Press.
Lee Pike Ridge You've got the 100 Cupboards
Yes.
series.
Yeah.
If you're looking for new fiction for your kids,
That's right.
check it out. You also got the Dragon's Tooth.
Yes, that's the one.
And
That's the
the
one.
the fourth volume is in process.
Yep.
Yes.
It's coming.
Chapter 7's coming?
in a
is.
serial release. Boys of Blur.
Yeah, it was good too.
My kids actually have really latched on to Outlaws of Time.
Nice.
Really?
I've got kids that just they just read the trilogy and then they just start over again.
Read it again.
And I'm like, what are you reading now? And they're like, oh, I'm back in book 1.
That's okay.
And book 1 is
I'll take it.
like, they
I'll
have
take
their
it.
favorite parts and they love it. So, anyways, check out IndyWilson.com. Check him out on Amazon.
Yes.
And buy all his books for
Follow
all
him
of
on
your friends.
social
Highly
media
recommend it.
while you still can.
And buckle up for the next half century.
Hey, brother, thank you for being here.
Yeah, Nate.
Appreciate that,
Thanks,
brother.
man.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross
That's
Politics.
right.